These yellow ones are really gorgeous as well. You know, when I think about why I want to make photography, it's because I want to create something. I want to create something that I'm really proud of, something that I enjoy looking at, and hopefully something that other people enjoy looking at. Of course, one way to do that is to find subject matter that is truly stunning, the big landscapes, the captivating street photography scenes. But a lot of times that's not realistic. And so I'm often just looking for moments where I can go and find interesting subject matter to capture. The other part that I really enjoy is the editing process. And that to me is where I'm able to take a photo that is, average and really turn it into something that I love. And it's as much as part of the craft as taking the photo, in my opinion. So today, I'm gonna be just hanging out in my garden here. I'm really fortunate that my wife has a beautiful flower garden. But I'm gonna spend about 30 minutes taking a few photos in the garden, and then we're gonna go into Lightroom and take a look at how I edit those photos to turn them into something that is really appealing to me and hopefully appealing to others. So come on along with me, and first we'll take some photos in the garden. Oh, and by the way, to all the other dads out there, sorry guys, it's official. Oh, and before I go, today I'm gonna be shooting with my Leica Q3. This is the 28mm. All right. For these flowers, I'm really looking to shoot wide open if I can, because there's so much stuff going on in the background. I want to create that isolation of the subject. Take a walk into the garden. Now, this one, we also have the advantage of having this kind of cool sculptural element behind it. So let's see what we can do over here. And now this Q3 also has a macro mode, which lets me come in and focus much closer. Oh, these purple ones are just like, this one's just sort of like coming in head on. I think it'll be real cool. These yellow ones are really gorgeous as well. Interesting angle or composition on these guys. Let me see what I can do here. These little guys are kind of endless entertainment for us. Now here the depth of field is going to work in my advantage because there's this chicken wire. And I'm just looking around for just little details I might like to cue in on. A couple of these kind of shaggy looking Dahlias. These are some of my favorites. These end up being really nice in black and white as well. There we go. This is a beauty. Okay, so look, I think we've got a number of pretty interesting little photographs there, some beautiful flower shots today. So let's take it into the studio and we'll go into Lightroom and we're gonna edit these. Okay, so here we are back in the studio and we're gonna take a look at some of the photos that we captured. So opening up in Lightroom, you see that I took a number of shots, and I've already gone through and sort of marked out the ones that I didn't think are worth looking at. But there's still a handful of ones that I think are pretty good. So let's go through and pick a couple of them and apply some edits to them. All right, so let's start with this one right here. So first thing that I'm gonna do is what I do to almost all of my photos, which is I apply a bit of an S-curve to the tone curve. Then I drag up the darks a little bit. I feel like it gives it a bit of a cinematic look. Now in this case, I don't really need to bring down the highlights too much, but I'm gonna bring up the shadows. I'm gonna bring up the whites. Bring down the darks a bit, give me a bit of contrast. And then I'm going to pull back some of the vibrance, because in applying that tone curve, it gets pretty punchy. Bring back saturation just a little bit. Awesome, that looks good. Now I'm also going to try and apply a bit of a crop to this. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on in this scene, so let's go in, and I really like a 5x4 crop. And so well, bring it down. Now I'm gonna do a bit of a rule of thirds thing going on here, and I got a couple things going on. So I've got like a row of flowers here and a row of flowers there. So those generally line up to kind of the rule of thirds line. And I'm gonna take this main cluster of flowers and I'm gonna put them at an intersection here of thirds. So I really like how this works. I got a bit of a diagonal line going in the background with that fence, and then a lot of really beautiful stuff going on with the blurred out bouquet in the background. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And then another thing that I like to do sometimes to draw attention to the subject, and we'll try it here to see if it helps, is I use the gradient tool. So I'm selecting a gradient over top of these, the main subjects, and I am going to, and then for this particular gradient, I am going to invert it. And then I can come in and drag the exposure down, which is going to darken the background a bit. And what it does is I find that it gives it the illusion of like light shining on the subject. All right, let's take a look at another one. All right, so let's come in here and do something really simple, similar to what we did the last one. We're gonna apply a bit of a tone curve, get some contrast going, bring down highlights, bring up shadows, reduce the vibrance so that we pull back some of that crazy color. I think we need a little bit more exposure. Now we are going to apply 4x5, 5x4 crop here as well. Playing on the rule of thirds, keeping this flower so that it's not centered. All right. Let's pick another one. This is a real beauty. Now for this one, let's see what it looks like as black and white. Oh, see, no, I like this as black and white, so let's go with that. We'll come in here, Open up some of the shadows. Bring up the exposure a little bit. Now here I'm going to do a bit of a tighter crop. This one, because of the subject matter, I do want the flower to be I do want it to be right in the center of the frame. We're going to break the rule of thirds on that one. And we are going to use that gradient technique again. So we're going to apply the gradient right over the flower. We're going to invert it. And then we're going to come in here and bring the exposure down of the background, which is really going to highlight. Just the flower. And let's do one more. And actually, we're going to do two more. We will try, let's try something with the chickens. And now this is kind of a funny shot. Like, I mean, let's see if we can improve this shot a little bit. So this was taken through chicken wire. So you can see the chicken wire is definitely blurring in the foreground. And I just want to see if I can add some drama and interest to this. So we're gonna use the S-curve here. We're really gonna try and get some contrast back in this image. Bring down the vibrance just a little bit. And then I think it's a matter of, you know, what is an interesting crop? So there's already a crop on this from, because I, you know, had cropped it in camera. And so that's actually a good thing. I can use that to my advantage because I think there's probably, a better crop to this. So I want to get, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get, you know, the entire chicken's in. So the tail is in, the feet are in. I don't want anything cut off. I do like the fact that I've got these other chickens going on in the background. I'm going to move this this container sort of out of the way, and I do kind of like that I've got this angled piece of the coupe coming into it. So let's go with that. And now let's also see if we can use this gradient technique to make it look like we had some dramatic light happening in the coupe. Not only does this kind of give the effect of some light sort of streaming onto the chickens, but it also eliminates some of the focus on, you know, some of these things on the edges. So I do kind of like that. And then the last thing I'm going to do, just for kicks, I'm going to imagine and see what would this look like as a black and white. Now I think it's a little bit, it loses something in this case in black and white. Yeah, so I'm going to keep it like that. I quite like this. And we'll do one more, which is this beauty. Like, oh my gosh, these dahlias are just amazing. So I'm gonna bring up the exposure a little bit. Seems like it was a little underexposed. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add a bit of contrast back into it with the S-curve. I'm gonna open up my shadows a little, bring down my darks for contrast. Now this one, I'm not going to touch the crop. I actually like this crop quite a bit, but I am going to see about whether darkening the background helps. I don't want to, you could go so far as blackening it right out, but I don't want that because I do want to keep an indication of that foliage. So we go original, edit. So look, the whole idea here is, you know, that even just spending a little bit of time in the garden can yield some really good results. And a lot of times, you know, even if the conditions aren't perfect or the, you know, the photos that you captured aren't ideal, tweaking in Lightroom can actually be a lot of fun, and it's part of the process that I really enjoy just as much as taking the photo. So I hope we'll catch you in the next video, and subscribe if you like the content. Thanks so much.